Alrighty everyone, welcome back to yet again another online multiplayer race in the new Forza Motorsport. Now, in today's video, we find ourselves in the Formula Mazda hopper, and prior to this race, besides the practice and qualifying, I really didn't have any experience with this car, but it ended up being really nice car to drive, as it handles pretty well and brakes really well as well. Now, I didn't really expect this to be a fun race, as I was about 0.6 of a second quicker than P2 by the end of qualifying, but you'll see that this ended up being a really fun and tight battle for P1 between Nacho Sticks and I, and we both managed to distance ourselves from the rest of the pack pretty quickly, which really allowed this race to be fun, and we didn't have to worry about anyone potentially ruining our race. Now, as you saw, I ended up qualifying on pole position, but after a few first corners that were kind of a disaster, found myself in P2, and fortunately I decided to let go of the throttle going into the last turn of lap 1, which was really dumb. But speaking of going flat out, turn 1 was really fun to go through, and I think that Grand Oak is honestly a pretty fun track to race on. I think that it flows really well. I like the corners because they're not super wide, but they're not too narrow either, and it has a good amount of straights on it as well. But anyways, we found ourselves in P2, and the gap between myself and Nacho Sticks, whether he was in first or I was in first, was usually between 2 to 0.5 of a second, and it was really a matter of trying to maintain our position going through the corners. And as I go through this double right-hander, I take it really badly, and Nacho Sticks just goes past us, and I think it took about 4 laps before I eventually got that corner right. And speaking of going through corners poorly, Nacho Sticks ended up going really narrow through the last turn, which just allowed me to go past them without the use of slipstream. But heading into turn 2, in P1, I ended up braking really early and ended up getting into contact with Nacho Sticks, but thankfully neither of us spun out or received any penalties, which is nice. But as I was saying, I realized after watching this replay that my braking points and my racing lines, especially through turn 2, were really poor, as I was honestly braking a bit too early, and you'll see that my lines were really atrocious on certain laps. But for now, we're still doing pretty well, maintaining less than half a second gap to Nacho Sticks going towards the last corner of the lap. And as I said, this was really a back and forth battle between us, and the deciding factor was really the corners, as on the main straights, as you'll see on the next few laps, that we just end up passing each other with no problem, thanks to the slipstream that now works, unlike Forza Motorsport 7. And heading into turn 2 on lap 4 this time, not a terrible line through there honestly, but we find ourselves right on Nacho Stick's tail, and as we head down towards a very sharp right-hander, I ended up having a lot of momentum, but decided to brake a bit earlier than I would have liked to, because I wasn't trying to ram Nacho 6 into the gravel and receive a death penalty. So heading into the double right-hander, Nacho 6 decides to go pretty defensive, but we ended up outbraking him by quite a bit, which allowed me to go into P1, and I right away follow up that good move by taking this left-hander really poorly, which caused Nacho 6 to hit me in the back. Pause. And yeah, heading into last corner onto the main straight, you can probably imagine what's gonna happen with Nacho 6 in my slipstream. He just ends up going down the inside, and this was really fun racing, as I said. But I suggest you close your eyes for this corner, as I really went super wide and super deep, which was honestly atrocious. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that. But even with that terrible mistake, the gap still remains at about 0.3 of a second heading into the 90-degree right-hander, and we end up taking a slightly narrower line. And this time around, Nacho 6 decides to leave me the inside, and I obviously took it, but unfortunately my line wasn't too great through this corner. As you see, Nacho 6 just creeps down our inside, but thankfully we maintain P1 for now at least. And heading into the last corner, you could probably imagine once again what's gonna happen going onto the main straight. Nacho 6 once again in my slipstream, and he just finds himself going right past me, and we end up going kind of side by side through there. And I suggest you close your eyes once again, because what in the world was this line again? I mean, I ended up going super wide, and thankfully Nacho 6 went super narrow, which kind of cancelled out my mistake. So yeah, we maintain very similar gap, but heading on to this little straight, we find ourselves side by side once more, and this time Nacho 6 brakes a bit too late, and I tried to squeeze past him, but I just couldn't get the car to turn enough. So we stay in P2 for now, and heading into the last few corners of the halfway mark of the race. And this is something that I would not see on Forza Motorsport set. I mean, going side by side, yes, there was a little bump there, but man, it really felt nice racing with someone who respects my space and I respected his space. But unfortunately for Nacho 6, he ended up going to the pits at the end of lap 6, and this wasn't really the best decision by him. I'd even go as far as saying that it was honestly a mistake going into the pits on this lap, as I did believe that we had another lap to do on this set of tires, and with him being in the pits now, I knew that I had to squeeze out a really good lap time with him being in the pits. And you see how the tires are all still in the white, at about half health on all of them. So yeah, heading into the sharp right-hander, we were about 3.5 tenths up on our best lap time, and I didn't really take the best line through there. I see the gap went down to about 2 tenths. And heading into the double right-hander, I was actually pretty happy with the way I took it this time around. I think I took a pretty good line, as you will see. We decided to go into the pits at the end of lap 7, and the gap to Nacho 6 is about 30 seconds, and I was about 5.5 tenths up on my best lap time. So really goes to show that I squeezed out a good lap time with Nacho 6 being into the pits. And as I leave the pits, the gap went all the way down to about 4 seconds, and unfortunately for him, and honestly for myself as well, this was pretty much the end of the race, as the gap pretty much remained the same for the rest of this lap. I mean, as you see, 3.9 seconds right now, and at the end of the lap it was about 4 seconds. And yeah, that pretty much sealed the deal. I mean, unless I made a huge mistake, it was pretty much a guaranteed win. And in the end, we ended up having a 8-second gap to P2, and we bring home the victory at Grand Oak Raceway. And shout out to Notchsticks for a really fun race, and even a little message that I really didn't expect. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll catch you guys in the next race, which was really a fun race in the touring car racing series. So yeah, till next time.